and it turned into this whole big deal. You know, they kind of tried to Jedi mind trick me. Like, oh, it's cool, just call Buster, let him know you sold the beat already. You know, and you know, these things happen, it's unfortunate, but you know, like you guys will work it out. And I'm like, it's not the beat you're looking for. I'm sorry, it's gone. You know, like, I'm not gonna do that. At the time, I had a very heavy relationship, and I still do have a very good relationship with Buster. I'm not gonna do that, you know, because he has it, he's recorded it, he's ready to go. Like, you guys had to wait for a year and a half. And I think you see that a lot. When you hear stories like, the story you usually hear is, oh, a producer sold the beat to two different people. You know, like 99% of the time that's not happening because the producer doesn't want to lose their job. So they're not going to be out like, oh, I'm selling to this person, and sell to this one, and sell to this one. Because eventually they're going to be stuck. You know, and you know, you're not going to put yourself in that situation, especially when you're coming up. You know, but what you will see is artists or record labels planning on doing the record to something you've done and just conveniently forgetting to tell you, you know, and then 6 months later when they go to tell you, it's too late, it's already a wrap, you know. You see situations like that pretty often. They always blame it on the producer, but I tell you 90% of the time it's not the producer, it's just management is not their job, or somebody at the record label is not their job. Sure.
One question here, one question there, we're done.
Yeah, a lot of people say the current business model in the music industry is somewhat broken. I was wondering if you see the record company and the industry doing anything technologically to diminish the prevalence of illegal downloads, piracy?
The current system is pretty broken. Do I see the labels really doing anything about changing it? When it comes back, piracy, not really. Don't get me wrong, piracy is a big issue. But the thing is, it's going to happen at this point regardless. And there's no amount of DRM that can stop me from plugging the output of my computer into something else and just recording it. You know, they were able to manage that with video. I remember I used to try to copy videotapes and I couldn't, no matter how hard I tried. So I would imagine it's possible with audio, but I don't know any technology that's being developed to do that. That being said, I think it's more, I think the attitude, I mean, do what you're going to do, try to stop piracy, but for me the attitude is more so like work on developing music that people are going to want to support. Because you still have artists who can come out, Lil Wayne can still come out and sell 1 million records his first week. Jay-Z can still come out and sell 500. Eminem can still come out and sell 650. You know, what was that woman, Susan, whatever her name was, Royal was selling like 600,000 records a week for like 3 weeks straight. It can be done. You know, it's just, but if the people don't care about the artists, it's not going to happen. You look at certain artists like Jay, who's been around forever now. He has that built-in hardcore fan base that loves him. So even if he puts out a record that's not the hugest single in the world, when he comes out with that new album, he still has a certain amount of people who are going to come out and buy the record because they love him. You know, and I think that's what really matters, because at that point, there's no amount of bootlegging in the world that's going to stop a fan or somebody who loves that music and loves that artist and has that connection. There's nothing going to stop them from going to, you know, HMV or whatever the local record store is and buying it, or going on iTunes and buying it. They're going to do it, you know, because they want to show their support for that artist. What happens is, I think one of the main problems is when the record label did go wrong. I think this is the best way to stop to combat piracy, is to stop putting out garbage. You know, or stop putting out records that are going to be hot for a week. You know, when you have a record, don't get me wrong, it's cool to have records that are made for the club, or, you know, made to dance to. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can't be mad when your record is based on a dance that's going to be in and out in a month, and it only sells 20,000 or 30,000 or 10,000 this first week, even though you have the #1 record in the country. You know, what that means is that you made a good song. It doesn't mean that people like you. You know, so you have people that like you or love you and support your cause and what you stand for or what you're about. You know, you're more likely to have piracy would be less of an issue for you. You know, people will still come out and support your music because they support you.
And then that's where the social media stuff comes in as well, because
Yeah, definitely.
if you don't know how to conduct yourself, if you're in charge of your own image and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then people are not going to like you right out the box. You don't even have the structure of a record label to telling you what you're doing.
Exactly.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Somebody just wanted to ask if you could elaborate on how a co-production situation works, you know, percentage-wise, like for example with TI and things. Like how do you get there? What is that?
It's always different. I mean, in my case, there's been situations where it's like, okay, I had this song pretty much done, but I need extra instrumentation to take it over the top. If I know what I want, and I'm just bringing a musician to do it for me, then I'm just gonna give him a flat fee. You know, like, because I'm basically using you as an instrument. Excuse me. If there's a situation where I'm kind of like, yo, go ahead and do you know, add whatever you think to it, then I might throw that person a small amount of money and a percentage of publishing. It's all based on what they've contributed. You know what I mean? And at that case, you might not necessarily be a co-producer because I'm still steering the ship, but you're definitely a writer of a song because you're writing additional music. You know, if you're sitting there giving input that I want, you know, and steering the direction of the record, then, you know, co-production is a possibility, you know, but it's different in every situation. I think a lot of times what some people get confused is being a session musician, or providing instrumentation versus co-producing a record. You know, you can write on a record. Doesn't make you a co-producer just because you're sitting there playing keys that you came up with. You know, I can still say I don't like that way that sounds. Change it this way, change it that way, transpose this up, and change this keyboard section right here. You know, I'm still producing the record. You know what I mean? And you're writing music on a record that I produce. And in that case, you'll get your percentage, you know, in terms of the publishing. But like I said, if I walk away from it for an hour and say, do you, and I come back and I pick out what I like, then yeah, you might be providing additional production, which, you know, I give people credit for.
Crazy example of the session players is the Shadows of Motown, if you watch that. The
Funk Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't get a lot of writing credits, right? They just...
Yeah. Look, I mean, there was that, Barry Morton was running that machine, like, you know, the way he wanted to run it, you know. But I mean, the publishing practices in general were different back then.
Yeah.
You know, they would tell the artists, oh, publishing, you don't have to be concerned with that here. Just sign this right here. You know, you take this color, and you just sit there like, I just got a Cadillac. And you drive off, you know. So yeah, there's been a lot of examples of people, you know, who didn't get their just due over the years, but now that we have things like this, and we have resources like the internet, all the other conferences, the wealth of knowledge and books that are out there now, if you get screwed to that degree, it's only your own fault at this point, you know.
All right. In 2010,
Yeah.
you should know better.
First of all, I'm a massive fan. Thank you so much for doing this. Okay, what do you think about the streaming services that are out there for music, like Spotify, Rhapsody, stuff like that?
Spotify hasn't really hit in the U.S. I hear more.
They're not here yet. They're supposed to be in the summer, I think.
Yeah, I hear a lot about it overseas when we travel. I don't think it's hit the U.S. like that. But in terms of like Rhapsody and those things, they're cool. But you know, I mean, I think I bought a Rhapsody subscription once just so I could rip a song that nobody else has. I just recorded it. But I paid for the subscription. You know, I mean, technically it's probably still illegal, I don't know. But my personal issue with those things is just like, if I buy a song or if I buy a license to listen to a song, I want to be able to do whatever, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do with that song. So when you like buying access to streaming things, all of that is reliant on an internet connection. If you ain't got no internet, you're done. You know what I mean? So to me, that's too limited. I mean, that's a viable option. I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. It's just that's not a model that me personally I would buy into, because it limits me the way I move. Some people are not really in a situation like that. Some people live their life within a one city radius, and you know, that's that, and that's cool for me. I move around too much to subscribe to a streaming service, so it doesn't fit my lifestyle.
For that. Anyway, please give it up for Flipout and Just Play.